Before we start, I want to kindly thank UK Rob M, Breville Blitz and Dawn Browning for buying us a cuppa since the last video. It's always appreciated. And remember, in November, anyone who buys a cuppa could win a St Harrison mug. You lucky people. That's a nice building, but what does that say at the top? Something. Crescunt? Oh dear. Welcome to Latvia. Well, I'm not even on the plane yet, and in Stansted Toilet there's a poster about communism and the Nazis combining. That would never happen. We all know there's only one decent outcome out of that. We then made it to my first birthday hotel, overlooking the Daugava River, through big glass windows. It's very nice. And here's the view from the roof. -5 degrees. It's very refreshing, I tell ya. This will all be lit up tomorrow with planes and people walking around with torches. You know what I mean. Anyway, a bit of wholesome TV before bedtime. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow. I wonder what goes on in that room. Very dodge. Now, this statue is from the Russian Revolution of 1905, also known as the First Russian Revolution, which started in the 22nd of January 1905. The good old days. But anyway, it's too cold to stand outside and look at it, which is why it's much easier just to do it from your hotel window. But before heading out into the cold, there's only one thing to do when you're in Latvia. That's it, you have a spa. And it was nice and peaceful as well. Mind my legs, lucky ladies. Behind that window is the original walls of Riga, back in the good old days when cities had walls to keep people out. And it's a nice touch in the spa as well, because they're hidden behind the glass. I mean, I could probably get up from where I was sitting down to have a look closely. Alright then, I will. There we are. No reflections of me though, my top off. Unlucky. If you're so inclined, you can always pour a bucket of cold water on your head, but that can fuck off. As can this little plunge pool, which is also full of icy cold water. It was warm enough, or cold enough I should say, getting in the main pool, which is why I stuck with Mrs St Harrison to the jacuzzi. Very manly. Now, you're not in Eastern Europe unless there's a huge TV tower, the biggest one of the 3 Baltics. But that's enough pissing about indoors. Let's go outside where we find a remigration sticker on one of the cigarette bins. You love to see it, especially when it's in one of the main squares right next to the House of the Blackheads. That's right, we'll be in there later and explain that name. What a lovely building. Now, Riga is full of lovely old buildings, very Art Deco ones too. There's Mrs St Harrison off to take a picture of one. That's the museum over there of art. And there's a little mouse. He's trying to be caught by a cat. Now, at the beginning of the 20th century, Riga reached its peak of prosperity. There was a massive upswing in production, trade and culture, which is accompanied by an unprecedented construction boom of all these Art Nouveau buildings, all around Alberta and Elizabetta Street. It's lovely to walk down. As a separate style of the Art Nouveau, the National Romanticism flourished between the 1905 and 1911s. Buildings of this style show the attempts of Riga architects to create a distinctive kind of Latvian architecture. You can tell I'm reading this from a guide. It is characteristic for National Romantic buildings to possess a certain degree of bulkiness, monumental grandeur. They also tend to have steep roofs and are decorated by Latvian folk ornaments. However, during the construction of these buildings, the architects often use natural materials, and every third or fourth Art Nouveau building belongs to the style of National Romanticism. Check out that soy face. Now, a lot of these buildings were built by Mikhail Eisenstein, who moved to Riga from St Petersburg, where he earned a degree in civil engineering. It wasn't all built by blacks and browns. In Riga, he was the head of roads division for the traffic department. In parallel with his position, he devoted his free time to, well, building these lovely buildings. Anyway, it's time for some food. That's quite enough walking about and learning things in this lovely little cafe, full of art books and people looking in, wishing they could be in there with me too. But they can't, because they're not allowed. It's my birthday and my choice. Now what's down these steps? Well, it's Rose and Growl's restaurant, which has been open as a restaurant since the 1990s, but the place itself since the 13th century when it was a guild hall. All kinds of things happen down here, some of them you probably don't want to know about. It's all very traditional and mostly lit by candlelight, but even in candlelight you can see fatties like this person filling themselves up on pork and fish, all cooked in traditional ways too. And there's Mrs. St Harrison looking very excited about where she is. Plus, because of the decor, you're surrounded by boogaloo ready ornaments, we'll call, like this and that. Some patriarch wine, don't mind if I do, to go with my bag of bread. But anyway, back to the wine. It's good to know that even in the 13th century they had smoke detectors and fire alarms. Safety's always been the priority of us Europeans. But anyway, dinner's here. To start with, we had soups which still had a fire underneath to keep it warm, plus you had to scoop it out yourself. So much for service. This is the restaurant from the outside. You can't miss it, and I'd advise if you ever come to Riga to not miss it. It's definitely up our street. Now after that quick fag break, the main course was ready, which was pig on a spit, which you have to cut off yourself. Well, you can cut it off yourself unless your woman's with you to do it for you. After all, it is your birthday. The place is actually massive, and because it's so dark, you have to walk a mile to find the toilet, if you can find it. Oh look, it's a birthday ice cream. Yeah. Lovely. All sitting on ice so it don't melt. In case you were wondering, even though it's a medieval restaurant, you don't have to shit in a hole. The toilet is actually a normal one. Good old Armitage Shanks, with a fantastically modern flush. After all that food, it's time to rest in front of a fire. A fire on a TV, in a bar. Yes, we got very drunk. I got so drunk I thought I'd lost my phone and went back out to find it at 1 AM, but I hadn't lost it. It was just under the bed. Ah well, never drink. Feeling slightly headachy the following morning, was watching the parade on TV. The parade which was going on right outside the window, so we decided to go out and join in and see all these happy people. Unfortunately, we missed the jet flyover because we were looking at some big old beast standing over there. What on earth is that? And this is the President's Palace, which is unfortunately inhabited by a you-know-Jew. Sorry, you-know-who. Am I back in Venice? No, we're not back in Venice. It's not just Venice that has highly decorated ceilings and churches. Latvia has them too, you know. It's not the Dark Ages, they do have paint. An army flag with a rainbow in it, back in the days when a rainbow meant nice things. Now we had to have a few warm-up drinks before we went off to the torch parade. You know the torch parade, the kind we're not allowed in England. Now because we don't have an Independence Day in England, St George's Day could just be like this, lots of people getting together, waving flags and holding flaming torches without fat people getting run over like Charlottesville. But anyway, it would be so nice, which is why unfortunately, or fortunately depending on how you look at it, we get to do it abroad. It's Mystery Ming's aunt, what's she doing here? But anyway, they have about an hour-long concert before the actual parade starts, and they get covered by the Latvian equivalent of GB News. I wonder if we'll appear on it. If you've not experienced walking around with your fellow white Europeans, holding torches and not giving a shit about labels, you should definitely come over and do it. It's very safe, and it's also very fun. Now, like last year, this year they also didn't have fireworks to celebrate at the end of it for the normies, but they did have a light show, which is never as good as fireworks, but what they did have was some fires on top of a hill, which of course we had to go and have a look at. There's a very familiar looking symbol in there somewhere. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And yes, we did appear on telly, but not as clearly as we did last year. The next day it was time to leave the hotel and move to a new one. Not that though, that's an old building built by a German. Nice, isn't it? This hotel, the Dome Hotel, very posh, and you have the whole floor to yourself. And what have we got out the window? Well, it's only St. Peter's Cathedral, just up there. There we go. And another one. Wait till they start chiming in the morning. Even when you reach your late 20s, we'll say, it's still nice to have balloons. It was time to visit the House of the Blackheads. What do they give you to walk around with? Well, Prosecco. Nice. Now, in the House of the Blackheads, the only blackheads you do actually see are pictures, mainly of St. Maurice, who was an African. But it never really had many Africans here. It was just someone they chose as their patron. It was a guild of men who like to get together to do things, like blokes do. Not gay things though. I don't think we'll get away with playing Erica on this grand piano. Sadly, they've covered it up. I wonder why. And here's some blackheads doing what they do best. I say best, they're playing music, and as we know, their music really isn't the best. Oh well, at least they're not talking. And this certainly doesn't look like the horse-faced Queen Camilla that we have, bless her. The place is also used to hold dignitaries from around the world, like this lots. We'll come back to them. That fat old troll. And unfortunately, as we go across, the pig fucker himself, who sadly made a reappearance. Excuse me, sir, I think your daughter is next door with a black man. Ah, yes, I've caught you. I'm going to go and tell your dad. Please don't. Go on, guards, you know what to do. They didn't just have to play instruments, they got to hold candles as well. And they got to hold shields and guard the doors. Nah, sod it. You know what to do. Get back on the boat. Then return to the wall of photos where we meet the Ghanaian ambassador who's brought his 8 wives who all look really happy to be there. He's happy, but look at the mug on that. Why do they all look like that? They're so entitled, even though they're entitled to nothing. Now, this silver wand was described as a Hebrew spell device. You can reach your own conclusions from there. Sorry about the reflections, can't help it. It's mirrors and it's silver. Never mind. And what have we got here? Well, it's a cup of coins, and it's full of coins as well. Wonder who's watching over it to make sure it doesn't get stolen. That's like leaving the fox in charge of the chicken coop. Here's a nice collection of old snuff boxes. I'm sure there's nothing mucky here, except maybe this dog pulling off the lady's dress. Dirty boy. Wonder what else there is. Oh, there's a couple having a kiss. That's not bad, nothing wrong with that. at this dirty sod, he's reaching up her dress, trying to feed the horse. I'm sure they're the only mucky ones. What's over here? Ah, it's a monk smuggling some women into the monastery. Dirty sod. Anyway, back to that. This is a nice little room. I do hope there's a guest book we can sign in here somewhere and tell them how much we enjoyed it. Why yes, there is a guest book. Let's have a look through and see what people have written. Lots of, this was lovely, this is nice. Lots of stuff written in foreign I don't understand. Let me just try and find a blank page so I can write something. Yeah, I think that will do. Lovely visit. Come again. Now this is the composer's room, where Mrs. St. Harrison spent most of the time wondering how we could make our house look exactly like this room. I'm sure when I come back from work one day, it will look exactly like this. And here's the busts of all the composers featuring chief noticer, Wagner. It was then time to visit the historical cellar to see what's down there from the olden days. But what's this? Hypercaust? Wow, I wonder how many died in that. Now the House of the Blackheads was actually bombed to shit at the end of World War II, but not by the Germans, and then rebuilt in 1999 exactly the same. And this is what it looked like when they excavated it all. It took quite a few years to rebuild, mainly because the Soviets didn't want them to. And like Rosengral's restaurant, everything here is ready for the next boogaloo. It's unanimity, holding a bundle of sticks, the symbol of virtues outside of the Blackheads. St. George, but we all get told very regularly where he's from. Well, this is the Hypercaust, or as they like to call it, a warm air furnace. To me, it just looks like a big oven. Say no more. Now, where better to spend your birthday meal than at the Latvian equivalent of Phoenix Nights? Highly recommended. I think Mrs. St. Harrison enjoyed it too. This is the outside. It's a very popular chain of restaurants. It's like a buffet full of cheap and very delicious food. Delicious, of course. It's subjective, as Mrs. St. Harrison realised. So then we left there, went to a place where the ladies dress in old style clothes and serve you very alcoholic drinks made from balsam, which is 40% strong, but very good for you if you're not feeling well. Before going to an underground folks club, where they sing songs that we certainly would enjoy, and do enjoy, you know the kind. But I can't talk about that, because I'll get in trouble. Anyway, have some wine. That's a nice chair. What a nice symbol on the back. Ooh, careful now. Now, after spending 2 hours driving on the wrong side of the car on the wrong side of the road, which was quite an experience, let me tell you, we made it to Lithuania. Why? Well, because we wanted to go to the Hill of Crosses, which is a pilgrimage site at the north of Lithuania, featuring over 200,000 crosses left by people who just turn up there. Now, the origins are a bit unclear. However, it did start as a symbol of resistance against foreign oppression, and to ensure that Lithuania remained a Christian country. How nice! It was also about -3 and bloody freezing. However, faith does keep you warm. And this is a cross installed by the Pope when he came to visit once. So the place is definitely consecrated. Now, there are crosses absolutely everywhere, so we had to find a place that's quite unique to put ours. Now, as we were walking up the stairs, we came across this abomination and decided to stick our cross in the side of it. Ugh, they do get everywhere. But after that, we returned to the market in Riga, the biggest indoor market in Europe, formed of 4 old Zeppelin hangars built by our German friends back in the good old days. As it was our last night, we had some more shots.
Strongest one first. I feel the hairs growing on my chest.
I hope not.
Blackcurrant. My favourite one. Good. Cherry. Never had that one before. Good. Still prefer that one. And to finish, the chocolate mint. Like for the dessert.
Well done.
1, 2, 3, 4.
She's like a female Keith Floyd, cooking, drinking. Not that that's a bad thing, in moderation of course. But anyway, as it was our last night, it also snowed, as they set up ready for Christmas. It has been, as ever, a lovely trip abroad. It's always nice when it's your birthday and it snows. And look, there's the biggest flag in the 3 countries. Baltic countries, that is. But anyway, it was time to settle down and get ready to go home. After a lovely week of fire torches, old style restaurants, alcoholic drinks, driving on the wrong side of the road, and seeing black figures and Jewish magical devices in the House of the Blackheads. I'd highly recommend you still visit if you haven't already, and if you're thinking of going next year, do let me know, so you could be in one of these awful videos as well. Until next time, ta-ta for now. And if you enjoyed this video, you can always buy us a cuppa on Ko-fi. The link's in the description below, and thank you in advance if you do.